All right, so get this. We're diving deep today into the world of high-performance lubricants.
Okay.
Specifically, a company that's been kind of quietly making waves in the market,
Right.
GP Petroleums Ltd.
Yeah. And what's interesting about this company is that they're not just about oil and grease.
Right.
This is a story about strategic growth and financial maneuvering and maybe even more.
And the best part is that GP Petroleums is publicly listed, meaning we have access to all their financial statements,
Yes.
company announcements, even a recent press release.
Yeah.
So we've got a pretty good view of their performance and where they might be headed.
Yeah. And speaking of performance, their Q3 results for the fiscal year 2024-25 are definitely something to take note of.
Let's unpack that their unaudited financials just dropped.
Yeah.
And they're painting a pretty rosy picture.
You're right.
A 9% revenue jump quarter on quarter, landing them at a cool 136 crore rupees.
Wow.
In this market that's got to be making some competitors sweat.
Yeah. It's definitely significant, especially in,
Right.
the competitive lubricants market. Achieving that kind of growth suggests they're doing something right.
Right.
Whether it's grabbing more market share or tapping into new customer segments.
I'm leaning towards a bit of both, honestly. What really caught my eye was their profit surge.
Yeah.
A whopping 38% increase quarter on quarter.
Huge.
Now, that's what I call making a splash.
Impressive indeed. And their press release attributes this success to a few key factors.
Right.
A diverse product portfolio, a customer-centric approach, and some serious cost-cutting measures.
Hold on, cost-cutting and a profit surge.
Yeah.
Those usually don't go hand in hand.
Right.
It sounds like they've really been fine-tuning their operations for efficiency.
Precisely. They've been emphasizing operational excellence, and it seems to be paying off.
Yeah.
In fact, Mr. Arjun Verma, their executive director and CFO, even stated, quote,
Okay.
"Our strong performance in Q3 is a testament to the dedication of our team and our strategic focus on innovation, customer satisfaction, and operational excellence."
So clearly they're proud of these results.
Yeah.
And rightfully so.
Yeah.
But as always, we like to go beyond the headlines.
Right.
And really dig into those detailed financials.
Sure.
That's where the real insights are hiding, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. And the segment information is a great place to start.
Okay.
For those unfamiliar.
Yeah.
This basically breaks down their business into different categories. In this case, manufacturing and trading.
Got it.
And this tells us which part of their operations is really bringing in the big bucks.
Okay. So it's like looking under the hood to see what's really driving this growth engine.
Exactly.
What's the breakdown looking like?
Well, it's pretty clear that the manufacturing segment is the powerhouse here.
Okay.
They're contributing significantly more to both revenue and profit compared to the trading segment.
Got it.
So they're not just buying and selling, they're making things, and they're making them well.
So they're not just middlemen. They're the real deal. This focus on manufacturing might be one of their key strengths.
It's a good point, and while their quarter-on-quarter growth is certainly impressive, looking at their year-over-year performance paints a slightly different picture.
Okay.
Interestingly, their Q3 2024 revenue is actually lower than Q3 2023.
Ooh, a little wrinkle in the success story.
Yeah.
Now that's interesting. Makes you wonder what happened earlier in the year.
Right.
Perhaps some challenges they had to overcome.
Exactly.
Definitely something to keep in mind as we dig deeper.
Indeed, it always pays to look at the bigger picture, especially when dealing with financials.
Right.
And speaking of a broader perspective, there's another detail that caught my attention in their shareholding pattern.
Okay.
Public shareholding has increased, while promoter shareholding has decreased.
Okay.
Now that begs the question,
Yeah.
what could this shift mean for investor confidence and the company's future direction?
Hold on. That is intriguing. Are more investors jumping on board because they see GP Petroleums as a solid bet? Or are the promoters, those with a controlling stake, strategically selling off shares for other reasons?
Yeah, it's possible.
That's a layer I hadn't even considered.
It's definitely something to ponder.
Yeah.
Sometimes these seemingly small details can reveal a lot about a company's strategy and the market's perception of them.
All right, so we've got a company with a solid Q3 performance, but some questions about earlier in the year.
Right.
Plus, this whole shareholding shift adds another layer of intrigue.
Yeah.
And we haven't even gotten to the new board member yet.
Yes. Mr. Rajesh Mittal's appointment is definitely worth discussing.
Okay.
It seems GP Petroleums is making some interesting moves in the leadership department as well.
Okay, let's talk about Mr. Mittal.
Okay.
He's been brought on as an additional director, specifically as a non-executive independent director.
Right.
And his resume is pretty impressive.
To say the least, he's a fellow member of ICI, the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India,
Wow.
and ICSI, the Institute of Company Secretaries of India. He's also a registered insolvency professional and registered valuer, not to mention a certified valuation analyst.
Talk about credentials. And on top of all that, he founded Alamak Capital Advisors,
Yes.
which specializes in investment banking and financial advisory.
Exactly.
Oh, and he's a partner at a chartered accountancy firm.
Right.
This guy's got finance and strategy written all over him.
What's particularly fascinating is how his background aligns with areas that could be crucial for GP Petroleums
Right.
as they continue to grow.
Yeah.
His expertise in finance, valuation, and strategic growth could be a game changer for them.
Right. They've practically added a financial mastermind to their team.
Right.
It's like they're setting themselves up for something big, but what could that be?
Well, that's a question we'll explore further in part 2 of this deep dive.
Ooh, cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Don't worry, we'll be back soon to continue unpacking the GP Petroleum story.
Absolutely.
Welcome back. We're picking up right where we left off,
Right.
unraveling the mysteries of GP Petroleums and their recent moves.
Yeah, we're still trying to figure out if their impressive Q3 performance is a sign of even bigger things to come or just a blip on the radar.
And remember, we're examining this from every angle.
Right.
Their financial statements, their company announcements, and that super upbeat press release.
Yeah, speaking of which, that press release mentioned something about GP Petroleums exploring new growth avenues.
Yeah.
Now, that's a phrase that really gets the wheels turning, doesn't it?
Definitely piques my curiosity.
Yeah.
And when you combine that with Mr. Middle's appointment, who, as we discussed, specializes in M&A deals,
Right.
well, let's just say my analyst senses are tingling.
It's a valid observation. Could GP Petroleums be eyeing an acquisition? Perhaps they're considering buying out a competitor or expanding their product line.
It's certainly a possibility, and when you consider their financial position, it's not out of the realm of possibility. They've shown strong profit growth,
Right.
and their manufacturing segment is clearly a powerhouse.
Yeah.
It seems they might have the resources to make a strategic acquisition.
That's true. They've got the financial muscle to make a move.
Right.
But the question is, who would they target?
Yeah.
What kind of company would make sense for GP Petroleums to acquire?
Okay, so we're putting on our analyst hats now.
Yeah.
What are some potential acquisition targets that would align with GP Petroleum's goals?
One path they could explore is acquiring a company that specializes in a niche lubricant product,
Okay.
something that complements their existing portfolio and allows them to tap into a new market segment.
I see where you're going with this. It's about filling gaps and expanding their reach. So what kind of niche products are we talking about?
Think specialized lubricants for electric vehicles, for example.
Okay.
That's a market that's booming in India right now.
Right.
And having those specialized products could give them a real edge.
Ah, so they'd be riding the wave of the EV revolution. Smart move.
Or they could shift gears completely and acquire a company with a strong distribution network in a region where GP Petroleums currently has a limited presence.
Yeah.
That would allow them to expand their market reach rapidly.
So it's about expanding their geographic footprint. I like how they're thinking big here.
Yeah.
Either new products or new territories.
Yeah.
Both solid strategies.
Now, here's another interesting thought.
Okay.
What if they're not looking to buy a whole company?
Okay.
They could potentially acquire a specific technology or a patent that gives them a competitive advantage.
Ooh, a tech play that's sneaky
Right.
and very smart.
Imagine a new additive that improves fuel efficiency or extends the lifespan of lubricants.
Yeah.
That kind of innovation could really shake things up in the market.
They'd be the disruptors, the innovators.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got a few scenarios on the table.
Right.
Acquiring a company with a niche product,
Yeah.
expanding their distribution network, or grabbing a valuable piece of technology.
Right.
But let's not forget, this is all speculation.
Oh,
GP Petroleum might have something completely different up their sleeve.
exactly. And that's what makes this so exciting.
Right.
We're looking at the clues, piecing together the puzzle,
Yeah.
but ultimately we'll have to wait and see what their next move is. It's like a corporate thriller with GP Petroleums as the protagonist.
I love that analogy.
Okay.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here.
Yeah.
We've seen how their strong financial performance and the addition of Mr. Middle to their board could point towards a potential acquisition.
Uh-huh.
And we've even brainstormed some potential targets.
Right.
But before we get too carried away with the acquisition talk,
Yeah.
let's not forget another interesting aspect of their recent performance.
Yeah.
their remarkable turnaround.
Yeah. How did they manage to pull off such a strong rebound?
Right, their Q3 numbers were fantastic,
Yeah.
but we can't ignore the fact that their year-over-year revenue was actually down.
Right.
How did they manage to pull off such a strong rebound?
Well, if we revisit that press release, they mentioned strategic cost control measures. Okay.
And process optimization initiatives as key drivers of their success.
Okay, so they've been tightening their belts and streamlining their operations. Sounds pretty standard, right?
It might sound standard,
Yeah.
but the real story is in the details.
Okay.
What kind of cost-cutting measures did they implement?
Right.
Did they renegotiate contracts with suppliers? Optimize their manufacturing processes?
Yeah.
Reduce overhead expenses? These are all questions worth pondering.
And it's not just about cutting costs, it's also about doing things more efficiently, right?
Right.
Working smarter, not harder.
Precisely. Process optimization could involve anything from streamlining their supply chain to implementing new technology that automates certain tasks.
Okay.
It's all about maximizing efficiency.
Which brings us back to Mr. Middle.
Yeah.
With his expertise in finance and strategic growth,
Right.
he could be instrumental in guiding these cost-cutting and efficiency measures.
Absolutely. His experience could be invaluable in identifying areas where GP Petroleums can trim the fat and improve their bottom line. So even without an acquisition, they've been making smart moves to boost their profitability.
Right.
They're clearly not sitting still, and that's a good sign for their future.
It certainly is. They're demonstrating adaptability and strategic thinking. Two qualities that are essential for success in today's dynamic business environment.
Okay, so we've uncovered a lot about GP Petroleum's present.
Right.
We've analyzed their financial performance, dissected their strategic moves,
Yeah.
and even speculated on their future plans.
Right.
But the big question remains, what does the future really hold for this company on the move?
That's a question we'll tackle in the final part of our deep dive.
Okay.
We'll explore the factors that could shape their future and the challenges they might face along the way.
Stay tuned, folks, because the GP Petroleum story is far from over. All right, we're back for the final stretch of our deep dive into GP Petroleums.
Yeah,
It's been quite a ride, hasn't it?
it certainly has. We've analyzed their impressive Q3 performance, scrutinized their cost-cutting strategies, and even indulged in some speculation about a potential acquisition.
Yeah.
But now it's time to shift our focus to the future.
Exactly.
Huh.
We've got a good grasp on their current position,
Right.
but what factors could influence their journey from here on out?
Well, for starters, the overall economic climate in India is going to play a huge role.
Right.
If the economy continues its upward trajectory,
Yeah,
demand for lubricants and petroleum products is likely to increase.
makes sense.
That would be a tailwind for GP Petroleums.
Right, classic case of a rising tide lifting all boats.
Exactly.
But, of course, there's always the flip side to consider.
Right.
What happens if the economic winds shift?
An economic downturn could certainly put a damper on things,
Right.
impacting demand for their products.
Yeah.
That's something GP Petroleums would need to navigate carefully, perhaps by adjusting their strategies or exploring new markets.
So they're not entirely in control of their destiny. External forces could throw them some curveballs.
Exactly.
What else should we be keeping an eye on?
Well, the competitive landscape is constantly evolving.
Right.
New players are entering the market, existing players are innovating,
Right.
and everyone is vying for a bigger slice of the pie.
Yeah.
GP Petroleums needs to ensure they're not just keeping pace, but staying ahead of the curve.
So that means investing in research and development,
Yes.
coming up with new and improved products,
Right.
and maybe even exploring new markets or customer segments.
Exactly. They've already shown a commitment to diversification with their product portfolio.
Right.
But resting on their laurels is not an option in this industry.
For sure.
The lubricants market is dynamic, and GP Petroleums needs to be just as dynamic to thrive.
And let's not forget about the increasing focus on sustainability.
Oh, absolutely.
It's becoming a major factor for companies across all industries.
It's not just a trend, it's a fundamental shift in how business is done.
So how does GP Petroleums measure up on the sustainability front? Their press release did mention it.
Yeah.
But are they walking the walk?
That's a question worth digging into.
Yeah.
Are they investing in renewable energy? Reducing their carbon footprint?
Right.
Implementing sustainable manufacturing processes? These are the details that will matter to discerning investors and customers.
Yeah. It's not enough to just talk the talk anymore.
Right.
They need to demonstrate a real commitment to sustainability.
Absolutely.
It's not just good for the planet. It's good for business, too.
Precisely, and this brings us to a key point.
Okay.
We've discussed their financials, their strategic moves, and the external factors that could impact their future.
Uh-huh.
But ultimately, their success will hinge on their ability to adapt,
Right.
innovate, and resonate with their stakeholders.
It's about more than just numbers on a balance sheet.
Yeah,
It's about building trust, embracing change,
right.
and creating a company that's both profitable and responsible.
Well said, and I think that's a great note to wrap up our deep dive. We've covered a lot of ground exploring GP Petroleums from multiple angles.
Look, yeah.
We looked at the facts, analyzed the trends,
Yeah.
and even entertained some speculation.
You did.
But as always, we encourage you, our listener, to continue the exploration.
Yes.
Check out the links to all our sources on our website.
Exactly.
Dig a little deeper and see what other insights you can uncover.
Right.
Maybe you'll even spot something we missed.
Yeah. That's the beauty of a deep dive.
Yeah.
It's not just about providing answers. It's about sparking curiosity and encouraging further exploration.
Absolutely.
So keep those analyst hats on, folks.
Yeah,
The world of business and finance is full of fascinating stories waiting to be discovered.
it is.
Until our next deep dive, keep learning, keep questioning, and keep exploring.